One of the most common questions I get as a coach is, how do I eat healthy? I would like to eat healthy. I'm trying to eat healthy. And I get it. We live in a country, we live in a time where there's endless options of food available. You got Popeyes, you got Chick-fil-A, you got Chipotle, you got DoorDash, Uber Eats. I get it. Because of the endless options of food we have available, it's significantly harder to eat healthy nowadays than it was, let's say, 10, 20, even 30 years ago. So rather than me answering 50, 100, 200 DMs and repeating the same thing over and over and over again, I figured, why don't I just make this video answering this question so that when somebody asks me how to eat healthy, I can just send this to them. And this is in no means meant to be an exhaustive video on how to eat healthy. This is essentially me summarizing years of expertise, of experience, of coursework into a bite-sized video that you can start applying today. By the end of this video, you should have a better understanding of what it means to be healthy, how to eat healthy, and if you're ready to get started, you can basically start applying these principles today. Before we get started, I should tell you that eating healthy is important regardless if you're trying to lose weight or build muscle. You should be striving to eat healthy regardless what your goals are. Eating healthy is important for how you feel, for your energy levels, how you look, and then most importantly for preventing specific diseases, right? It's not a secret that the overconsumption of processed food leads to a lot of adverse health outcomes, including gaining weight. So again, you should be eating healthy regardless if your goal is to lose weight or to build muscle or whatever else it may be. One last thing before I get started, I would really appreciate it if you could drop a comment. You don't have to do anything crazy. You can drop the word value down below or drop some fire emojis. So what this does, it lets me know that you actually are watching this video. It lets me know that you enjoy this type of content, and it motivates me to continue producing more. So again, if you don't mind, just drop a comment down below. Let me know that you're following along. So the first part of eating healthy is basically understanding macronutrients. There's 3 essential macronutrients, which are protein, carbs, and fats. Protein are important for muscle recovery and growth. Carbs are important because they're your body's main source of energy, and fats are important for hormonal health. You can find protein in fish, beef, chicken, tofu, the list goes on. And protein comes out to be about 4 calories per gram. On the other hand, carbs can be found in rice, bread, vegetables, fruit, the list goes on as well. And same with protein, it comes out to be 4 calories per gram. Fats can be found in oils, butter, fatty meat, the list goes on, and those come out to be about 9 calories per gram. Part of having a healthy, balanced diet involves having a good proportion of protein to carbs to fats. A good rule of thumb to follow is having about 40% carbs, 30% protein, and 30% fat. But again, this is just a rule of thumb. This can of course differ per person based on your goals, your lifestyle, and what exactly you're going for. In addition to macronutrients, you also have micronutrients like minerals and vitamins. The thing is, if you're eating a balanced diet of protein, carbs, and fats, you should be able to get the majority of your minerals and vitamins from the food you eat. Now, depending on where you eat, depending on genetics, you might need to supplement additional minerals and vitamins. But I would personally recommend talking to your doctor and getting tested to really decide what you need to supplement rather than just going to a store and just picking up a bunch of vitamins and minerals, right? So talk to your doctor, figure out what you need, and then go from there. The next important thing when it comes to eating healthy is understanding calories and portion sizes. Calories and portion size directly contribute to how much you weigh. Macronutrients directly contribute to your body composition, how much fat you have, how much muscle mass you have. But calories contribute to how much you weigh. So as you know, if you're consistently eating in a surplus, you'll gain weight. If you're consistently eating in a deficit, you lose weight. And if you consistently eat at maintenance, you'll essentially stay the same. The number of calories you need varies per person, and it depends on so many different factors, including your age, your height, your weight, your body composition, your goals. Personally, as a coach, I recommend tracking calories at least once in your life. It'll give you a better understanding of portions, of sizes, and it'll make it easier for you to eat healthy long term. I always compare it to riding a bike. It's one of those things that once you learn how dense specific foods are, how many calories are in a cup of this or an ounce of that, it's something you never forget. Again, an important quote that I want you to remember. If you don't remember anything else from this video, then please remember this. Macronutrients directly contribute to your body composition, how much muscle mass you have and how much fat mass you have. Calories directly contribute to your weight. Micronutrients directly contribute to your energy levels, your mood, and how you feel. You don't have to track calories to be healthy. Like I said, I recommend you commit to tracking for at least 3 months, but you don't have to track calories to be healthy. If you're somebody that doesn't want to track calories, then what you can do is follow something called the plate method. So with the plate method, every single meal you have, every plate you have should consist of about 50% vegetables, 25% protein, and then 25% grains, sweet potato, rice, pasta, whatever else you might want. So the next part of eating healthy is understanding what kinds of foods to eat. I'm a huge believer that there's no good or bad food. There's just food. Some foods are higher in calories. Some foods have more macronutrients. So again, there's no good or bad food. You just have to be strategic with what you're eating. An analogy I like to give my clients to help them understand this is pretend you're a kid in a candy store. Let's say you're 10 years old and your parents bring you to a candy store. And they say, hey, you have $20 and you can buy whatever you want. In that candy store, there's aisles and aisles of candy. Some of the candy will be worth $20. They might taste really, really sweet, very addictive, but they're worth $20 or even $15. Some of the candy might taste pretty sweet, pretty good, but not as good as the $20 ones, but they're worth maybe $8, $10, $12. And then of course you'll have some candies that are not as sweet, not as addictive, but they're worth maybe $2, $3, or $5, right? So what you want to do to spend that $20 effectively, it wouldn't make sense to buy one piece of candy for $20. It would make more sense to have a good variety of everything, right? Maybe have one that's about $10, one that's about $5, and then a couple that are $1, $2, or $3, right? So that's what eating healthy is. Finding that nice balance between nourishment and enjoyment. You don't have to completely restrict yourself from certain foods. Of course, fast food is not as nutritious and beneficial for you as eating whole, unprocessed foods, vegetables, lean meat, chicken, fish. Of course, it's not as good for you, but you don't have to completely cut that out of your life. It's all about finding a nice balance. So another thing that I tell my clients is to practice the 80-20 principle, the 80-20 rule. So what this means is 80% of the time on a weekly basis, your foods should be whole, nutritious foods, vegetables, whole grains, lean meat, fish, chicken, beef. And then the other 20% of the time, you don't have to, but you can allow yourself to indulge a little bit. Get maybe some fast food, some Popeyes, some Subway, whatever you might want. When you allow yourself to enjoy food occasionally, you feel less restrictive and you're more likely to be consistent long term. That being said, knowing what to eat is only half the battle. Knowledge without action is meaningless. You actually have to apply these principles to see the results you want. Again, we live in the modern world. We live in a world where most people have very demanding jobs, and they have their family, their children, their significant others, they have church, hobbies, all these things that pull you in different directions, making it harder to stay consistent. So the only way to bypass that, the only way to be consistent in this turbulent world is to plan ahead. I always say if you fail to plan, then plan to fail. If you don't take the time to plan your meals ahead of time, typically you'll find yourself resorting to convenience. Convenience meaning fast food. There's a reason it's called fast food. It's easily accessible and it's ready in 5-10 minutes. You can find a McDonald's or a Chipotle on basically every single corner of the United States. So if you don't plan ahead, rather than eating 80-20 like I just told you should be doing, you'll find yourself eating about 10-90. And before you know it, you'll be gaining weight, you'll have high blood pressure or whatever other adverse health outcomes you might have. So here are 3 simple tips to plan your meals ahead of time and stay consistent. The first one is something I like to call the smart shopper strategy. When you go shopping, instead of wandering every aisle and filling your cart with junk food and frozen foods, I want you to follow the smart shopper strategy. So what exactly is that? Well, fill your cart with 5 vegetables, 4 fruit, 3 protein, 2 grains, and 1 sweet treat. Again, that's 5 vegetables. It can be green beans, broccoli, cauliflower, whatever. 4 fruit, apples, blueberries, strawberries, whatever you want. 3 protein. It can be chicken, fish, beef, ground beef, doesn't matter. 2 grains or carbs. It can be sweet potato, rice, pasta, whatever you want. And then give yourself 1 treat. Allow yourself to get maybe a pint of ice cream or some cookies or some juice, whatever you might need. I have a sweet tooth, so this is something that I allow myself to do all the time. Now, what people typically do is they do the opposite. They might have 5 to 10 sweet treats, barely have any vegetables, barely have any protein, and then they wonder why they're gaining weight. So again, the number 1 method is follow the smart shopper strategy. So the next step of planning ahead is prepping your food, right? Once you have your groceries, you need to actually prep your food and make sure that you are ready to go for the week. Contrary to popular belief, you don't need to meal prep to be healthy. You don't need to meal prep to have a healthy diet. That's more so a strategy for people who are short on time. If you're someone who has the luxury or the time to cook 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, by all means do so. That's perfect. But I also understand that not everybody has that luxury. So for those people, I recommend prepping ahead of time, right? If you don't have that food ready, you'll resort to convenience, which typically means fast food. There's two ways of prepping your food. The first method is essentially the easiest way. Basically, choose some meals that you want to eat for that week, prep them, and have them ready to go. So prep your breakfast, prep your lunch, prep your dinner, have them ready to go. The second method is more so for people who don't like eating leftover meals or they just don't want to eat leftovers for the whole week. So, what I recommend in this scenario is maybe just prep a portion of your meal. Save yourself time. Make it easy on yourself, right? So, I would recommend maybe prepping your vegetables ahead of time. Prep your broccoli and have it in the fridge, or prep your protein ahead of time. Prep that and have it in the fridge. That way, when it's actually time to eat, instead of it taking you an hour or 2 hours to cook a meal, it might take you 10 to 15 minutes to prepare the rest. The last strategy for smart meal planning is actually very simple, and that is to stick to 1 to 2 meals per week. So rather than trying to cook 7 different meals every week, I recommend, and this is what I follow, I recommend find 1 to 2 meals that you like and repeat that for the whole week and then substitute it out for something else to follow. That's going to save you a lot of time, it's going to save you money, and of course, less food goes to waste. And of course, if you're doing this and you're following the 80-20 principle, you can allow yourself to go out to a nice restaurant or you can cook a more intricate meal on the weekend, right? 80-20. We're almost to the end. I appreciate you sitting through this and watching and engaging and keeping track with me. I have just a few more tips for y'all, but I do want to remind you something. I am an online coach and I have helped hundreds of men and women lose weight and keep it off permanently. And part of that reason was due to teaching them how to eat healthy and how to eat right for their goals. I've helped people like Sam, who lost 32 pounds in 3 months and was able to go off and lose more using what he learned from me. I've helped people like Maya, who lost 60 pounds in less than 7 months just by changing some things in your lifestyle and being more consistent with nutrition. And then, of course, I help people like Alex, who lost 35 pounds in 3 months simply by changing his diet and actually working out less. So, if you want me to help you achieve similar results to what they did, there's two different things you can do. Number one, you can either click the link in the description and apply for a free strategy call with me. Or number two, you can go ahead and DM me on Instagram. Just DM me the word nutrition video, and I'll know that you came from this video. And what I'll do is I'll chat with you, and if I'm able to help you, I will help you. Worst case scenario, even if you're not in a position to invest in a coach, I have plenty of other resources that I'm happy to send your way, and I'm always happy to give you some tips, some advice, and point you in the right direction. All right, so the next part of eating healthy is learning how to understand and be in tune with your body. If you're getting cravings, if you feel uncomfortable, you're feeling sluggish, that's your body directly communicating with you and telling you that something's up. This is another reason why, as a coach, I recommend tracking calories or at the very least keeping a food log. I had a client a few months back who she came into the program, and once she started eating a little bit better, she started getting sick. It had happened to her before prior to the program, but she'd never been able to pinpoint what was going on. So once I actually had her tracking her food, we started doing some elimination. We removed certain things from her plan. Essentially, we came to figure out that she was allergic to dairy. Now, I'm also lactose intolerant, but when I have dairy, I just get bloated and a little bit gassy. With her, she became very ill to the point of throwing up and having to go to the emergency room. Once we figured out that she was likely lactose intolerant, she actually went to the doctor. They did some tests. They found out that yes, she was lactose intolerant. Ever since she removed those things completely from her diet, she's been perfectly fine. So again, part of eating healthy is practicing mindful eating. Listen to your body, listen to your cravings, check your energy levels, check how tired you are. Certain foods will tell you directly what's going on in your body. To take it a step further, check in with yourself before and after you eat. Nowadays, a lot of people eat not because they're hungry, but because they're either bored or stressed. And I shouldn't have to tell you why that's a problem. So again, check in with yourself before and after you eat. Ask yourself, am I actually hungry or am I just bored? Am I actually hungry or am I just stressed? And figure out different, better alternatives to eating your feelings. Awareness is the first step. Once you're aware of what's going on, you can now take empowered action. The final step of eating healthy is to enjoy what you're eating. Think about it this way. When you're playing video games, when you're binge watching Netflix, you can go for hours without realizing how much time has passed because you're enjoying yourself. However, when you're going to work or when you're having conversations you don't really enjoy having, it feels like time is dragging on because you don't enjoy it. So if you enjoy what you're eating, it'll be that much easier to be consistent long term. So I recommend experimenting. Like I said, try different recipes every week. Step outside your comfort zone. Push yourself to be adventurous, right? As you do this, you'll start to better understand which vegetables you like, which you don't like, which meats you like, which you don't like, how you like cooking your food, what seasonings you prefer, etc., etc. By the way, I do have a free recipe book that you can download and experiment with. I'm going to include it down in the description. So again, feel free to download it, try some of the videos in there, play around with it, and see what you like and what you don't like. As a coach, I don't believe in restriction. As I told you, I preach the 80-20 principle. Now, if you're somebody who has to do keto or has to do intermittent fasting because of some health issue, go for it. But on the grand scheme of things, it's a lot easier to stay consistent with nutrition if you give yourself that room to both enjoy nourishing foods and just eat for the sake of eating, because food is good. So rather than restricting yourself, just practice moderation and just worry about getting 1% better every day, every week, every month. Life is dynamic, so your diet should be dynamic as well. You'll rarely ever have all conditions be perfect, right? So you have to just be able to pivot and turn with life. If you're on vacation, you have to eat a certain way. If it's your birthday, if there's something going on, you just have to be able to pivot on the spot. So the more you practice these tips, the more you practice everything I mentioned in this video, the easier it'll be to pivot, right? Some weeks might be worse than others, some days might be worse than others, but if you know the right ways to go about eating healthy, you can always return to the default. So remember, you should always be eating healthy, regardless if your goal is to lose weight or build muscle, right? You should know what your macronutrients and your calories are, and you try to abide by that as much as possible. And there's a huge difference between eating right and eating healthy. When you're eating right, you factor in what your goals are, if it's weight loss, weight gain, maintenance, and then you use that to find your macronutrients and you abide by that for a certain number of times. When you're eating healthy, again, you can eat healthy regardless if you're trying to gain weight, lose weight, or stay the same. I assume if you're trying to eat healthy that you're also trying to live an overall healthier life. So eating healthy goes hand in hand with exercising. I recommend at least 3 times a day. It goes hand in hand with drinking enough water, with prioritizing sleep, stress management. All those are things that you should try to incorporate as much as you can into your lifestyle. If you've made it this far in the video, I truly, truly appreciate you. I'm here to help you out. But I also do get enjoyment from making these videos. So again, if you don't mind, just drop a comment letting me know that you've made it to the end. You can just comment something like, great video, watch it all the way through. Again, you can send me a DM on Instagram and I'm happy to help. I have endless resources that I'm happy to send your way. Or if you even want to work with me one-on-one, I'm also happy to set that up. Last but not least, please make sure to like the video, leave that comment, and of course, best of all, subscribe. Peace.